The next Republican candidate for President of the United States could be Vice President J.D. Vance. This was stated by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio in an interview with Fox News. The host asked Rubio whether he would run in the 2028 election. However, the Secretary of State replied that it would be Vance if he wants it.
I firmly believe that the next Republican candidate for the presidency will be Vice President Vance if he ultimately decides to run for the office. And he is a good friend of mine, and he is doing an excellent job.
Vance himself does not rule out the possibility of running for president in 2028. He hinted at this recently in one of his interviews.
I genuinely do not like to think about that particular aspect, primarily because I much prefer to consistently focus on the important job I currently have right now. If we manage to do an excellent job in the upcoming years of 2025 and 2026, then we can properly talk about the intricate world of politics in 2027. Americans are tired of those who, just 7 months into a new job, are already thinking about the next one.
In the spring of this year, Michigan Congresswoman Shri Thanedar introduced articles of impeachment against President Donald Trump in the U.S. House of Representatives.
I introduced articles of impeachment against President Trump. When Trump ignores the Constitution, Congress, and the courts, he is not fighting for America. He is destroying it and putting our democracy at risk.
The congressman clarified he had filed 7 articles of impeachment against Trump, accusing him of violations.
Article 7, tyrannical abuse of power. Trump is trying to concentrate unlimited power and destroy the constitutional limits of the presidency. In our country, we have presidents, not kings. This is not just a simple offense. This is an offense that warrants impeachment.
Earlier, in April 2025, thousands of protesters gathered across the United States, including in Washington, expressing their disagreement with President Donald Trump's policies. A series of powerful explosions rocked temporarily occupied Crimea on the night of October 6. According to the Telegram channel Crimean Wind, the Saki airfield in Novofedorivka was the first to come under attack. Soon reports came in about explosions in Feodosia, Yevpatoria, the Simferopol district, as well as near the village of Andreevka, next to which the Kacha airfield is located. Later, Crimean Wind reported that an oil depot in Feodosia had been hit.
There, after the powerful explosions, the oil depot over there is still blazing fiercely.
According to the channel, as a result of the strike, a fuel tank exploded at the Feodosia oil terminal. The glow from the massive fire can be seen for dozens of kilometers. In addition, there are reports of a strike on a military unit between Yevpatoria and the village of Uyutnoye. There, according to preliminary information, one of the radars was damaged. Later, more than a dozen explosions were heard in Sevastopol. The oil depot in Feodosia had already been attacked in October of last year. It is the largest one in the temporarily occupied Crimea. On October 6, drones also attacked the Russian city of Dzerzhinsk.
He's just here.
He's actually here?
He's right above these buildings.
According to preliminary reports, a fire broke out at the Sverdlov plant, which is one of Russia's largest manufacturers of industrial explosives. On the evening of October 5th, a series of explosions rocked the Russian city of Belgorod, after which the city lost power.
Behind the large blue building. Oh my goodness. The power's really out again, it appears to be.
A power outage was confirmed by Belgorod region's governor, Vyacheslav Gladkov.
Here we have, a significant disruption to the power supply in 7 municipalities. Almost 40,000 people as of right now, at this very moment, are without electricity.
Local residents currently report that there are disruptions with essential water supply.
The self-proclaimed president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, has revealed what the Oreshnik looks like. With a high degree of probability, the type of launcher for this medium-range missile has been disclosed. This happened thanks to the Belarusian dictator's desire to show off its model, as noted by journalists from Defense Express. The model was deliberately displayed in Lukashenko's office during a meeting with the Prime Minister of Kyrgyzstan and was quite conspicuously positioned for the cameras. In the end, they even had to take a photo with a very peculiar composition, where the people had to be placed in the corner of the frame. Thanks to Lukashenko's boasting, experts were able to examine the Oreshnik launcher itself. In particular, it can now be definitively stated that the Oreshnik's chassis is the MZKT 79291 from the Belarusian Minsk wheel tractor plant. By the way, all of Russia's ground-based strategic missile systems depend on the products of this very enterprise, as well as a number of other missile systems, including the Iskander and the RS-26 Rubesh. Based on this approximate ratio, it can be cautiously assumed that the weight of the Oreshnik, which is most likely the same as the RS-26 Rubesh, is about 45 to 48 tons together with the TPK-I 4043, or without it. It should also be noted that the Oreshnik is at least 7 years old, as shown by the analysis of the debris. On August 1st, Russian dictator Vladimir Putin stated that the first serial Oreshnik system had allegedly entered service with the army of the aggressor country, Russia. The Russian dictator also claims that a site for the system has already been chosen in Belarus and that the issue will be resolved by the end of the year. Recall that the launch of the Oreshnik on February 6, 2025 ended in disaster for Russia. According to Forbes, the second missile of this type, which may have been aimed at Kyiv, exploded before it even crossed the border. In addition, on June 5th, flying objects were seen in the skies over Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and the aggressor country, Russia. There was speculation online that these were Russian experimental Oreshnik ballistic missiles. At that time, Kazakhstan's Ministry of Defense denied the report about the missile and emphasized that there had been no recorded violations of Kazakhstan's airspace. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky made an interesting statement regarding what Ukraine is using to strike Russian territory. According to the president, by examining the debris at the crash sites, it is clear that Ukraine is striking targets in the aggressor country not only with drones. The president made this statement at a joint press conference with Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte in Kyiv. In particular, the president was asked whether he could confirm that Ukrainian Flamingo cruise missiles are already hitting targets on Russian territory.
I think that I truly believe that we will eventually move to publicly disclosing the comprehensive details of our long-range capabilities a bit later. We won't prepare accordingly the enemy for where we are, what we've achieved, and what we are using. The main thing to understand is that in recent days, Ukraine has been using exclusively Ukrainian-made products, not just drones.
According to The Economist, Ukraine is already actively using its Flamingo missiles, which possess a substantial warhead weighing 1,150 kilograms, to effectively strike Russian oil refineries. The head of the company Firepoint, which manufactures Flamingo missiles, notes an increase in the production of these missiles. In particular, about 50 missiles are produced per month. The president added that he would like to thank not only the soldiers for hitting the targets, but also the manufacturers who took the necessary steps.
We truly believe that we have significantly increased our overall capabilities. This volume depends on this amount, whether the appropriate funds will be available.
In this regard, the production capacity for missiles and drones in Ukraine could reach $35 billion in 2026. President Zelensky noted that the necessary financial funds could potentially come from international partners with whom Ukraine has already signed comprehensive bilateral security agreements. There are already 30 such agreements. Meanwhile, in Russia, explosions are occurring almost daily at industrial facilities and oil refineries. And recently, Ukraine carried out one of its longest-range strikes on a Russian oil refinery located 1,400 kilometers from the border. On Friday, October 3rd, drones attacked the Orskneftorsk oil refinery in the Orenburg region. President Volodymyr Zelensky stated that Ukraine will become a member of the European Union regardless of the position of Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. The president expressed confidence that the people of Hungary support Ukraine in any case.
Ukraine will definitely join the European Union anyway, with Orban or without his involvement, because this is indeed the clear choice of the Ukrainian people. The Prime Minister of Hungary is simply slowing down this process right now.
Zelensky believes that Hungary's blocking of Ukraine's further movement toward the European Union is connected to domestic political reasons. The Ukrainian president also strongly reminded that Ukraine has successfully fulfilled all the necessary technical requirements to officially open the very first cluster in the EU accession negotiations, and further commented on the significant possibility of changing procedural rules so that EU expansion would not require a unanimous decision. Volodymyr Zelensky noted,
Changing the established procedure means finding a viable way to move forward effectively when the vast majority, all countries except Hungary, strongly support Ukraine and clearly understand how absolutely necessary this is.
In turn, the European Commission says that opening clusters for Ukraine without Orban's consent could be considered, but the corresponding decision must be made by the EU member states. It should be noted that Viktor Orban recently reiterated that Hungarians do not want to be in the same union as Ukrainians, so as not to share their fate. And according to him, the fate of Ukrainians is supposedly to be alongside Russia. The Hungarian Prime Minister also believes that Ukraine is not a sovereign state since its bills are paid by the countries of the European Union. Meanwhile, a rally of thousands took place in Budapest against Prime Minister Orbán. Viktor was once again criticized for his friendship with Putin. The Hungarian Prime Minister was accused of failed economic policies, high inflation, and being excessively close to Moscow. Next year, elections will be held in Hungary. According to analysts, for Orbán, who has been leading the country since 2010, this will be the most difficult campaign